you know. And I personally would vote for Tim Bowens any day.
Oh, you had to block him. That's my next question. What was it like going up against Jason Taylor? I know you were a guard, but you still saw your share of Jason
Oh,
Taylor. What was
I,
it
I
like, Jason Taylor, Tim Bowens, Daryl Gartner, and that group? That could not have been fun.
All right. So Tim Bowens was my first experience, and I thought it was the most unrealistic challenge that I had in the in the NFL. And then it was compounded by adding Daryl Gardner with him. That was the most formidable front that anyone has ever known. I beg anyone to put up another comparison. You'd have to put Jerome Brown and Reggie White on that list, honestly. And anyone that doesn't know, they don't know football. Now, Zach Thomas, I have a different opinion of because had to grind it out up there with Tim Bowen. So it was a relief for me to try to get in space and block Jason because Jason was a little lighter. And agility wasn't a problem for me to tackle. It was just the sheer power and strength that Tim had. It was just too much. I was happy to try and block Jason, and I had him a few times, but Jason's Jason. He's a great player. But I'm telling you, Tim set it up for all of those guys.
Yeah, that was a heck of a front seven Miami had those years in the 90s into the early 2000s. The Bills were good then, and it's going to be fun to watch this week when these two teams are the Bills are there. Miami's starting to get back to where they were way back in those days, and hopefully this rivalry can be what it was in the 90s, because that's what it was. In the early 90s, before you got there, Jim Kelly, Marino, the rivalry was really fierce. When you got there around 95, it was still very strong. Those two teams went at it. It was crazy. Those games were insane.
Yeah, I was in the infamous Brian Cox spitting, fighting, him and Carwell Gardner wanting to fight at the buses. Yep. This is totally full on. Now, you want to know what's funny?
Yeah.
About that whole matchup? I'm giving you some insight.
All right.
Yeah, when we played the game in Buffalo, a fight could break out. It was full-on fight, and anything could go down. We could fight all the way to the buses. In Miami, there was no fighting after the game. Everyone was having a beer.
Everyone's happy. We're in Miami. Let's look it up.
Would pull you over. Dan Marino would be like, "Come on over and have a beer." We were all having beer after the game. There was no fighting. But up in Buffalo, for some reason, we all would get salty and want to fight. So
the atmosphere. It had to be the atmosphere. Sunny Miami. We played. Let's have a few drinks.
Yeah, let's have a beer.
Buffalo, what are we going to do? It's cold. It's wet. It's rainy. Let's fight. That's so funny, Ruben.